Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing how we saved 50% on our 2-week trip to Borneo compared to a tour company offering the same tour. So stay tuned and I will talk you through each step of how you can tailor your trip to your own needs and save money at the same time. And stay tuned because at the end of this video I'm going to be sharing my final 3 tips to help you save money and get the most out of this holiday. Now, going to Borneo has been a dream of mine for years and years, but when we looked into it recently, we found that to go for a tour, we wanted to move around to different locations, you were looking at £4,000 to £5,000 per person to go to Borneo for actually in some cases not even 2 weeks, for more like 12 days. So with the methods I'm going to take you through, we found a way to book the same holiday for the 2 of us for less than the cost of 1 person with a tour company. The first thing you need to do is look for inspiration on the kind of trip you are looking to do. For us, the focus was wildlife, for example. Look at online tour companies and see the kind of routes that they offer. Most will show you some kind of basic itinerary of the locations, and this will give you an idea of the kind of things that interest you. Make a note of those locations. In our case, for example, it was Sandakan, Kuching, Kota Kinabalu and Gaia Island. They were the 4 areas that we decided we wanted to go and see as part of our 2-week tour. Now you know the locations that you want to visit. Now you need to do the next thing, which is buy a book. Now in our case, we buy the Lonely Planet, or we have done for the Borneo trip. Now the reason we've done this is, yes, there are loads of places you can look online, but generally we find that it becomes very overwhelming trying to switch between 8, 9, 10 screens, when actually having one book that you can just refer to, you can still look online, but it just helps with an overall idea of the country. For a start, you have a map in there which will show you the different areas. So the areas that you've decided you'd like to see, you can see how far apart they are and what might be a logical route within those places. So we find this a really useful thing to just have one travel book on hand so that we can use this when we're planning the trip. The next thing you need to do, now that you know the locations you like to see and you know the kind of things you want to see in those areas, you now need to look at flights. Now for Borneo particularly, you need to do a lot of internal flying if you're going to move between locations, which was definitely the case for the 4 locations that we looked at. Now the reason you need to look at flights at this stage when you haven't booked anything else is simply because some flights might not be available on certain days. We found this when we were looking at Borneo. We had an idea of a route in mind, and then actually when we looked at how many nights we want to spend in each place, we suddenly realised that the day we wanted to fly, there were no flights internally. So what I would suggest you do is you look at the flights for each route. So in our case, for example, there weren't flights every day from Kota Kinabalu to Sandakan. So we jotted down over the 2-week period that we were going, which days there were flights available. And we did this for each of those internal trips so that we could then look at which days were an option when you fly internally. If you go to a company who do tours and ask them to do this for you, they will generally, you just give them the day you want to go, the day you want to come back, and they will figure out what they can work for you. You don't get any choice in how many days you spend in each location, for example, or in a lot of cases, what hotels you're staying in. So with this gives you the freedom to decide how many nights you want to spend and look at which days you can fly. In addition, when you're looking at your main flight, look at different days and the cost differences. A difference of 1 day can actually make a difference of maybe £100 each, literally, compared to the day before. And this was a prime example with Borneo. We were going via Singapore and we were flying on the Saturday and coming back on a Saturday. When we looked in the cost of flying 1 day later on the Sunday back, we actually saved over £100 each just by changing the flight by 1 day. So that money saved from both of us paid for an extra night in a hotel, which means we get a 15-day holiday for the price of a 14-day holiday. Okay, so now you have the locations you want to go to and you know which days you can fly. So now you have these things, you can figure out the best route. Now, what we found is we want to obviously minimize the amount of time traveling and maximize the amount of time seeing things. So for example, for us, we were flying via Singapore. Actually, you'll find for Borneo there are two options equally good, Kuala Lumpur or Singapore. You have to fly to those first and then take your flight into the area of Borneo, okay? So we actually had flights into Singapore. We actually decided we want to spend a couple of nights in Singapore. We're doing that at the end of the trip so that it gives us something to look forward to before we have that very long flight home. But in terms of the internal flights, we actually decided we originally were going into Kuching, but we realised that again, due to the flights and what days they were available, actually Kuching wasn't the best place to start. So again, you get this flexibility when you do it for yourself that you will not be given by a tour agent. So we actually are flying into Kota Kinabalu, and then from there we're going to Sandakan and back into Kota Kinabalu to then go and spend a few days at Gaia Island, and then following that we finish in Kuching and fly directly from Kuching back to Singapore. So now you have this in mind, you have the exciting bit. Well, in my opinion, the first exciting bit, which is booking where you'd like to stay. Now, we use 2 or 3 different hotel booking sites. We do find that actually the main thing here, book hotels with free cancellation. Now, the reason I say this, and we do this actually for a lot of our trips, but particularly with Borneo, as I explained, we looked at one route and thought that would work for us, and then realised that the flights didn't work for those days. So we had to change where we were staying at which times. Now, if we booked anything without free cancellation, we're now stuffed because we have to stick to those hotels without having to pay a fee to cancel. So always use free cancellation, particularly. So when choosing your hotels, we actually booked hotels. We don't book really cheap hotels. In Borneo, you've actually got some fairly good options for really good prices. We generally, I think all of our hotels are either 4-star, and we've actually managed to cram in a few nights at the 5-star hotel on Gaia Island just for a few days of relaxation partway through the trip. So once you have your hotels, book the dates that you have in mind, but with the free cancellation, because you can always change them. And sometimes we've even changed hotels 48 hours later because we've realised that actually there's a better option available. So now you get those hotels booked. You book those in, and now you have those in place. You can now look at the flights. You need to make sure that those things work for you. The flights are the very last thing we book, because once they're booked, generally, it costs you money to cancel. So we leave those to the very last minute, as long as we have free cancellation on the hotels. So now you have your hotels in place. Now, before we do anything else, we need to do a double check. You need to be sure that where you're staying there is enough time to see the things you want to see. It's no good booking 2 nights in one area, which is effectively 1 full day, and then finding that there are 2 or 3 things you want to see and you don't have enough time to see them. In Kuching, we found that there is a lot to see near Kuching, but for example, Baku National Park is, I think, a 30-minute taxi ride away, and then another 30 minutes on a boat. So realistically, you're going to need the day to go to Baku National Park from Kuching. So that's already 1 day gone, but there are plenty of other things we want to see. Therefore, we've booked 3 or 4 nights there just to make sure that we have enough time. But equally, by the same token, in Sandakan, we found that our hotel is only a short walk, 5-10 minutes, from the Orangutan Rehabilitation Centre, and the Sun Bear Rehabilitation Centre is next door. Now, when you look at these things with a tour company, they're not going to tell you that they're only 10 minutes from your hotel and that they are next door to each other. You'll end up paying a lot of money for these things. But just make sure you check the distance these places are from the places you're staying, so that you've got enough time to hone that trip and make sure that you're staying the right amount of time in the right places to get the most out of your trip to Borneo. Once you've done that, you are now ready to book those flights. Now, you should have your hotels on free cancellation. You know what things you want to see in each location when you're there, and now you're confident that you have enough time in the right places. Now, in our case, like I said, we've got 4 locations in Borneo and we finished with 2 nights in Singapore. That's because we've never been to Singapore, so what a fantastic chance to see that. And I'd actually say that's a great tip if you've got a long journey home, is to actually think about breaking up the return journey. The reason we haven't done it on the way there is on the way there you're excited about the holiday, you're ready, you're happy to make that journey, but on the way home, slightly different feelings, right? You're going back to reality, you've got a long journey, and the last thing you want to do is sit on a 15-16 hour flight. So we decided we do that short trip to Singapore first, then we break it, have a couple of nights there, enjoy this incredible place, and then get on a direct flight home from there. So once you've booked the flights, we now have 3 final tips to think about before you head on your amazing trip to Borneo. Tip number 1, check the luggage allowance for each of your flights. You may find that your main flight out has a 25 kilo allowance or 23 kilo, but actually the internal flights are less. We've been caught out like this before with other holidays, so make sure just before you book those flights that you're certain on what luggage you can use on all of those flights, because it's no good having a big bag for the first flight which you then can't put on the internal flight. Secondly, email the hotels about excursions and trips. We found out already, in Sandakan, there's a monkey sanctuary about half an hour away from where we're staying, and we've already been given the name of a guy who can take us in a taxi to that place, wait for us, and then bring us back at a fraction of the cost. And they're reliable taxi drivers that they use at the hotel, and we are saving ourselves a lot of money. So just email the hotel, check on a couple of chat groups, and just check what's available. And the last tip, book your airport parking now. The reality is it only ever goes up. As you get closer to your trip, so does the cost of the parking. They're entirely relying on you not being organised, and the fact that most people only remember about a month, 6 weeks before that, oh my gosh, we have not booked the parking. So at that point, they can charge you a premium price. Book that parking now, it will save you money. You're now all set for your trip to Borneo, and you will have saved a lot of money on what you would have paid a tour company. Now, we went through and added up the cost of our trip, and that was all the hotels, the main flight out, the internal flights and excursions, and they came in at less than one person's cost with a tour company. We literally saved 50%. I couldn't quite believe it, to be honest with you, that is how big the markup is when you go to a tour company, when with a little bit of effort, you can actually get this trip a lot cheaper and experience so much more as a result for less money. I hope this has helped you, and I will be covering the trip. We are going in a few months' time, and when we do, I will be sharing some more tips about what we learned when we actually did our amazing trip to Borneo. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll have plenty more cost-saving ideas for you soon.